The saga continues with the 1100 into the miniature aluminum jet boat. And last time we left off with us kind of working at kind of late at night, and we were struggling with some carburetor issues, and then eventually we kind of got it all semi sorted out, but it was almost pitch black out, so we couldn't really record. And we went through a lot, and it ended up that the boat completely stopped running. You guys would not have seen that because it was so late at night that we couldn't even film. And it has no spark, and that's where this video picks up. Okay, I've tried a different CDI on here, checked all the ground connections. Basically, we're not having spark. I have gone through the carbs again to make sure they're solid. Got filters on the carbs, still not having spark. Pulled the stator cover off again and found that the timing pickup was loose and rattling around in there. So now I've got it tightened back up. I'm going to install it, and this will only see the light of day if this is relevant and somehow makes this thing work. Well, I don't know if we're perfect, but that made it wrong. You guys might recognize this particular footage because it is the day that we were testing the XPDI, and don't worry, that thing is long gone, but we happened to be testing the 1100 mini jet boat at the same time. So that's why you're kind of seeing it in the background here. So no worries that the XPDI is back. It is not, it is long gone, it is never coming back. No start. Going on with him, if it's working great or not. Honestly, the boat is running okay, but it is definitely not where we want it. So still not happy with the performance here. It's just not running right. And it's hard for me to be too super pumped about this because it has the mystery problems. And one commenter pointed out in one of the videos that it seems to run perfectly when you're turning to the right, and it breaks up or kind of has trouble when you're going straight or to the left and somebody's calling me. Like I was saying before, I was interrupted by a spam phone call. One subscriber suggested that maybe there's a short in the wiring here, because since it runs perfect to the right and straight and to the left, it seems to have problems. So going to be going through the wiring. I've already actually checked this start-stop switch. It is a Kawasaki switch, and once you know it, it's fine because the Kawasaki ones seem to be fine. It's the Yamaha ones that have the problems. Okay, here is the wiring removed, and I am going to obviously test the wires, and also I'm going to be inspecting them at like the bend points and the whatchamacallit, the splice points. So going to be almost testing all the wires here and inspecting all the splice points. And I've got about 20 feet of extra wiring in this thing. Like this here is for the fuel gauge, and I'm not exactly sure why I have so much wire for that. It's not even hooked up. And I also got another like 10 feet of wire. This is probably for the tachometer, so maybe I'll get that hooked back up, but we'll see. Peeled this back, the heat shrink, and I can just see it's just a regular old butt connector is what the real deal is. So I'm going to be replacing all these connections with a connector that I like better, and I'm obviously going to have to do all of them on the entire boat. I'm simplifying my start-stop switch, so I'm removing the trim, which, you know, I'm not using it anyway, so what does it matter? I'm removing all of these kind of cheap butt connectors, and that might actually take care of our problem. Maybe there was a bad connection in one of these, and when we turned to the right, it made it connect better, or vice versa. I always have problems with these cheap butt connectors. I don't even buy these ones. They're just so problematic, and I've had bad experiences in the past with those ones. So the goal is to simplify the wiring a lot. I'm removing that huge extension from the start-stop, so there'll only be one connection with butt connectors. It's going to shorten this considerably, but I'm not going to run this on the handlebars. It was in the way and it was annoying anyways. It does not need to be there. I'm going to just mount it on the side. It'll be easily accessible and out of the way that way. I like to use these bare connectors and then run heat shrink over them. And this is the size heat shrink that I run over these small bare connectors. And I use this crimper on them. This one right here. It really crimps them down super tight, and I never have problems with them coming apart. So here's my wiring before I heat shrink it with a heat gun. But I just wanted to say that normally I would want to stagger the connections so that even if they rub through, they wouldn't touch each other. So like one connection would be here, then here, then here, then here, like, you know, on each of the wires. So, but on this end is so short, I don't really have room to do that. But just heat shrink these things right on up. And since I'm using the tightest heat shrink I could possibly get on there, they shrink up really good and they stay watertight, and I never have any problems. See? There we go. Mini jet boat testing time. I literally can't even remember all this went into it, but it would have been before on the video. So we're taking it out for a little test to see what happens. Okay, the test on this went terrible, but we are gonna go ahead and weigh it here. All right, can you lift it up gently? Okay, that's good. All right, there it is. There's the weight, 480 pounds. It's actually heavier than I expected.
Oh, it's probably a little bit less than that. This was on there.
Yeah. Working on the mini jet boat. Jacob got a brand new stator for it. He has multiple of these 1100 engines, and he has a shortage of stators anyways, so he bought a new one, and this is one of his engines. So we're gonna see if the stator can fix this thing. We had problems with the C-rat with the stator kind of doing the same type of stuff where it never would quite run right. So maybe that's what we got going on here. I can test the stator if I can remember how to do it, so might show you how to do that if I can remember. That kind of looks like a big old chunk out of the front main seal on the crankshaft. And there's plenty of oil in the cover as well. I wonder if it's time to go with a different engine in here. All right, I went ahead and tested the stator, and it did test out okay. So we're gonna continue to run this old crusty stator, and we'll have that test in a separate video, just so that it can be like a real quick, easy video for people to get to, so they can test their stuff super easy. So, but now I'm gonna put that back together. Just kind of gonna go back from what I remember, this doing a lot better when we had separate fuel straws. So we're gonna run 2 fuel straws. We're gonna run the reserve and the on from the tank straight to the fuel filters, and see if that makes it run any better. I remember that doing a lot better that way before, so we'll see if we can do that again. And obviously this engine needs front crankshaft seal. It leaks in here every time, so certainly needs that, but we'll try this and see what happens. I actually already had it out. I wasn't recording, but now I can share with you guys what it's like. I don't know if you can tell by the tone of my voice, I'm not too awfully appreciative or excited about how it ran. In fact, I really think it sucked. that's how it runs. Really, really badly. I've tried quite a bit to get this engine to run correctly, and obviously it's not there in the slightest or at all. I mean, it kind of runs right, but I think the main issue we're struggling with is that front crankshaft seal being blown out. And the reason it can kind of run, I think, is because it has that front cover on there, so it's not completely just bleeding the pressure off into the atmosphere or into the air. But that probably is why it'll kind of run and then it just kind of stumbles back down. I think there's something kind of weird going on there where that like pressurizes and depressurizes, and I don't know, there's probably a lot of like, how would I say it, kind of complicated, nerdy, scientific things happening there. But that is just my guesstimate that it's having most of its problems coming from there. And this is Jacob's engine. So it's to the point of, do I put parts into Jacob's engine? And he has told me that the flywheel cannot be removed because something to do with the bolt being cross-threaded on there. So essentially this engine is useless. I'm debating of just saying, Jacob, I'll buy it from you, and then like throwing a huge thing of nitrous on it and blowing it to smithereens, or buying it from Jacob and lighting it on fire, or something like that. Or possibly I'll just pull it out and give it back to him. But either way, I'm pretty much burned out on this engine, so I don't know if you can tell, I'm quite frustrated with this. It's just I've been going back and forth with it forever, and I've kind of known that that front crankshaft seal wasn't right for quite some time. But I mean, on this video you saw, I found a friggin' piece of it that came out. So yeah, I mean, it's not good. Definitely the engine could be rebuilt, but who knows if that bolt holding the flywheel on would snap off when I tried to remove it. So I think this engine is done. We're going to move on to something else. I don't know what, but on the next miniature aluminum jet boat video, we'll definitely have something interesting happen. Whether it's literally blowing this engine up or putting a new engine in, and hopefully having a fast triple in there so we can finally dial in like the handling and the porpoising and everything else, because that's really difficult to dial that stuff in when the engine doesn't run correctly. But we'll get it. We'll get it. I mean, I've had some crazy thoughts of putting like some different engines in there, like a full-on like V8, like LS out of a car. But it is quite a small jet boat, and I don't think it... I mean, more power is always better, but I don't think the size of it would handle that kind of humongous horsepower very well. So maybe I'll have Rob fabricate me another aluminum jet boat that's a little bit bigger that could handle like a big V8 like that. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see what you guys want to see. If you guys like the aluminum jet boat stuff, definitely let me know. If you think it'd be cool to see like a friggin' 500 horsepower LS and a miniature aluminum jet boat, let me know. We might be able to just make that happen. Because with Rob's fabrication skills and the craziness that we do with engine swapping, anything is definitely possible. It's just a matter of how bad do you guys want to see it.